The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. Those are the words of Mark Antony in the play Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. If you read Julius Caesar or you watched the play, either on television or on stage, you have to remember that quote. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. If ever there was any definition of the word reputation, it will be found in that quotation. That's what reputation is about. It's about how you get to be remembered, whether in the short term or in the long term. Hello and welcome to this episode of the PR Coach. Thank you very much for your subscriptions. Thank you very much for your viewing and certainly for sharing with other people. Truly appreciate it. The president of Tanzania on the east coast of the continent of Africa passed on this week. John Magufuli was what Africa called hope. He came in at a time when the continent was really dying for new hope. It is not a secret that Africa has a leadership challenge and has had it pretty much since 1957, when Ghana was the first country to gain its liberation. We have been cursed with a litany of big men who are dictators, thieves, corrupt people, murderers. We have seen them over the years. And when people like John Magufuli took over, we all went, thank you. He was already a minister in government before he became president. And already then, the signs were like, this is the kind of guy you want to be a president of a country. As they put it in his country and those that followed the politics of Tanzania, he never played politics, which is ironic for a politician. He was a manager, maybe typical of an engineer that he was. He made sure that delivery happened. He was only interested in that. He never made headlines. We never knew about him outside Tanzania until he became president a few years ago. But when he took office and he made promises and he started performing, we all nodded and said, that's the guy. You know, John Magufuli turned down the one opportunity that most of our leaders will never turn down, an inauguration party after they assume office, which normally costs millions of dollars. He said, no, I'm not doing that. I'd rather spend that money in another hospital, buying more ambulances. He went out to his ministers, got them off their chairs, got them to do the work. He went to government offices. He fired people who stole and who did not do their work. He replaced them with technocrats who were doing amazing stuff. And we felt this is what this continent needs. Long before we can deal with our other problems, whether you call them, neo-colonialism or exploitation by the West or this, that, or the other, what we first need are good men and women to govern. Because then we can, with our shoulders up, go to the world and say, take us seriously. And John Magufuli gave us that. It came as no surprise that he won a second term only at the end of last year. Yes, stories were out that the elections were not free and fair, but hey, you know what? Where are they free and fair? We just had a Donald Trump almost trying to steal an election in the US. I am not justifying elections that are not free and fair. I'm just saying that it is not a complete story when you hear that. Fact is, John Magufuli had now built a reputation to allow him to come back to power. But here's the problem. Towards the end of his first term and at the beginning of his second term, John Magufuli became the same thing that we feared of previous leaders in the continent. He became the big man. He became Mr. Know-it-all. He started pushing policies and rules that were based on what John Magufuli wanted and believed. The Constitution was secondary to John Magufuli. John Magufuli became the god of his country. He steamrolled stuff over people. As we know, when COVID entered our shores, John Magufuli denied the existence of COVID. He kept his economy open. He told his people they did not have to wear masks. He said this could be solved via prayer. I'm not here to question prayer. We know what happened. People got COVID. People died. It may not be in big numbers, but it happened. And therefore, John Magufuli started derailing and eroding the great work that he had been doing, because now he became this ideologue that wanted to push what he believed in, and everybody else did not matter. Irony of ironies, then John Magufuli falls ill a few weeks ago. Excuse me. And then he gets admitted at a hospital in Kenya. But then we also hear that he's been moved from that hospital and there's no longer trace. Now rumors start to come out. That's what happens. One of the rumors was that he was then transferred to a hospital in Johannesburg in South Africa. Nobody can verify that. And then he dies. He dies. Stories out there that he died of COVID-19. Karma. But not only that, because karma, hey, it's got nothing to do with us. But this one speaks to reputation. That the very man who denied the existence of this pandemic dies of it. Of course, the spin machine came out immediately. No, he did not die of COVID. No, he had a heart attack. Now please level with me. Which country, which communicator would have their president suffer a heart attack and keep it secret only to tell us when they died? They did so because they were ashamed to tell us what he was afflicted with, because he was afflicted with the very thing that he tried to reject. So the spin machine posthumously tried to save the man's reputation. You can't. So, in a space of weeks, the man denied the veracity of COVID. He refused for people to take care. He rejected vaccines. And he passes on, reportedly, from the pandemic. He reverses 5 years of great work in a space of weeks. So the good that he did over the years gets to be interred with his bones, literally. And the evil stays. And that's the thing with reputation. That's how people will remember you. What John Magufuli did over the years was his job. He was paid to do it. And it was based on his character. And those two combined created a reputation for him. You cannot create a reputation. It's how we perceive you. It's how we perceive your character and your work. And that's what he did. But suddenly, when he starts doing bad, when he starts doing very bad, what do? We perceive him to be a bad person. And that becomes his reputation. The same happened. You can think of Bill Clinton. He did so well by the economy of the US, but we shall remember Monica Lewinsky. So the good gets to be interred with his bones when he goes, but we will remember the Monica Lewinsky story many years to come. The former president of South Africa, who did exceptionally well with the economy and left us an amazing economy before he left, but denied the existence of AIDS, will be remembered for many years as Thabo Mbeki, who was an AIDS denialist. That's reputation. And that's what's going to happen with John Magufuli. That's what happens with any leader in a church, in a company, in a council, in a stokvel, what we call a building society, a financial building society in South Africa, in government, in a business, wherever you are a leader. Remember that your reputation is what your people perceive of the work that you do based on your character. And that forms your reputation. You cannot push it down their throat. They will perceive you. They will assign a reputation to you. If you do a lot of good, they will assign you a good reputation. If the opposite happens, even if the opposite is less than the good, but the impact is big, that will be your reputation. So you cannot afford to say, no, but it's a small thing, I've done so many other great things. You can have a $10 deposit in your bank account every month for 30 years. But one day when you go on a $50,000 overdraft, that's your reputation. So those events that we do and we insist on doing even when we know are wrong, sadly, they will live long after us. Be careful of what you do and how you do it, because that's how people are going to perceive you, and that's how your reputation is going to be formed. Even in the good book, the Bible, Jesus Christ asked his disciples, what will you tell people when they ask you who I am? Because that's reputation. He can heal the sick. He can open the eyes of the blind. He can wake the dead. That's his job and his character. But what do people say about him? That's his reputation. You can't put that in an advert. That's not your reputation. You can't buy media to get reputation. You build it over time. Sadly, Magufuli wasted what he built over time, and in the last days went on an overdraft that he could never pay back. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. Thank you very much for watching. Please continue sending your comments and your questions to rams@kingmaker.co.za. I also put on the screen the price range of the training that I offer that will help you with building your reputation. Do take advantage of it. Do make contact. But most importantly, please share this content with others. Truly appreciate it. Until next time, cheers.